Hey y'all, don't forget to hit those buttons over there while you're listening. I know I'm a day late, but we need to be celebrating labor every day because we work hard. 9 facts on Labor Day legacy media didn't mention. The USA horrifyingly ranks worse than Russia and China on economic inequality. And if we hope to prevent catastrophic economic collapse, we need to change ASAP. He goes on to quote James Baldwin. We have yet to understand that if I'm starving, you are in danger. People think that my danger makes them safe. They're in trouble. How many people realize that Americans are suffering worse wealth and income inequality today in 2024 than they did before the Great Depression a century ago? He goes on to say, this Labor Day, while politicians and legacy media marvel over how great the stock market is doing, he wants to provide a clearer lens on the actual state of the economy, what working people are suffering through every day, and how to ensure we better protect economic justice in America. And man, if he is so telling the truth, because as I'm going through the news, the politicians and media absolutely trying to make it sound like, remember they called us resilient consumers. Fact 1. Americans are suffering worse inequality today than we did prior to the Great Depression. That inequality in major part enabled an economic collapse one Americans would not emerge from for over a decade. And if we want to prevent a similar 21st century collapse, we must change course quickly. Notice the below inequality chart. I'm going to pull it up in just a second. The relatively flat trend from 1940 to 1980, and then the spike since. This is not by accident. We'll come back to that in a moment. All right, and here's that graph, and we can follow it. We can see it very clearly. Fact number 2, according to the GINI index, which measures economic inequality, the U.S. ranks last among developed nations on Earth. In fact, overall, we're even ranked worse than China or Russia on economic inequality. What does it say about our economic policies if nations run by autocrats and dictators achieve better economic justice than what our politicians enact? Fact 3. The so-called right-to-work laws are not just anti-worker, they're pro-racist. Right-to-work laws were designed to uphold supremacy by protecting employers who refuse to hire Black, Indigenous, and people of color workers. These laws were crafted to weaken unions, dismantle collective bargaining, and strip workers of their power. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wisely warned us, we must guard against being fooled by false slogans such as right to work. It is a law to rob us of our civil rights and job rights. Its purpose is to destroy labor unions and the freedom of collective bargaining, by which unions have improved wages and working conditions of everyone. Wherever these laws have been passed, wages are lower, job opportunities are fewer, and there are no civil rights. We do not intend to let them do this to us. We demand this fraud be stopped. Our weapon is our vote. Fact 4. If the minimum wage had kept pace with inflation and corporate productivity, it would be at least $27 per hour today. Instead, millions of workers are struggling to make ends meet on wages that have stagnated for decades. An analysis by Dean Baker of the Center for Economic Policy and Research placed the minimum wage at $23 per hour back in 2021. Given inflation and continued overall productivity growth, it should be at least $27 per hour now in 2024. Look at that. I just need to start number 5 off with I hate Reagan. I hate Reagan. The myth of trickle-down economics propagated by Reaganomics has been nothing more than a scam that has since 1980, the year I was born, redistributed an astonishing $50 trillion from the bottom 90% of Americans to the top 1%. Now recall the graph in fact 1. I'm going to keep going. Fact 1 above, and the spike in the inequality since 1980. My chest is getting tight. I was just talking to my kids yesterday about the war on D-Rugs, Reagan, Nancy, how they were pumped into the neighborhoods, funneled into the prison system for that free labor. Oh, I don't understand how people just don't see this. Like how it's just not crystal clear. Okay, I'm off on a tangent. I hope y'all are still with me. Oh, if you're not, that's okay too. I love y'all. This shift in economic inequality is not an accident. It's a feature of an economic system designed to favor the wealthy at the expense of everyone else. So how do we fix this? Fact 6. Well, we already have a proven way to fix this. From 1940 to 1980, the wealthiest Americans paid marginal tax rates of 70 to 94%. I have posted on here before Abigail Disney talking about her grandfather paying a 90% income tax rate and amassing a fortune. She speaks out about millionaires paying tax. Anyways, during this time, manufacturing boomed, and we witnessed the strongest middle-class growth in U.S. history. It is long past time to return to a system that works for everyone, not just the ultra-rich. Fact 7, and it isn't just low taxes for billion-dollar corporations destroying working people. It is also massive wage theft. Experts have long calculated that corporations continue to steal an estimated $50 billion from workers annually through wage theft and other exploitive practices. That's more than all other forms of theft in America combined. As Economic Policy Institute Vice President Ross Eisenbray reports, wage theft affects far more people than more well-known crimes such as bank robberies, convenience store robberies, street and highway robberies, and gas station robberies combined, and can be absolutely devastating for workers living from paycheck to paycheck. For low-wage workers, the wages lost from wage theft can total nearly 10% of their annual earnings. Fact 8. We need more labor unions because unions strengthen economic justice. Unions contribute to 11% or more in increased annual wages, better benefits, and paid time off. I have to pause and say that if you are not aware of this, Reagan got his start in the 50s when he was hired by GE to be the first influencer. Okay, I'm going to go on to fact 9 because I'm about to run out of time. I'm talking so long. Fact 9. Billionaires don't create jobs. They exploit workers by driving out small businesses, driving down wages, and driving up their own corporate profits. Indeed, 99.9% of businesses are small businesses with fewer than 250 employees. Does anyone seriously not see the problem with this report by Oxfam that billionaires gained what workers lost during the pandemic? Viral inequality. Billionaires gained $3.9 trillion. Workers lost $3.7 trillion in 2020. Let us not forget that America is not $32 trillion in debt because the poor rely too much on welfare and pay too little taxes. No, Pentagon hasn't ever passed an audit, and they lose like some trillions of dollars last year. $3 trillion unaccounted for. The real reason is that billionaires pay too little in taxes and rely too much on corporate welfare. Billionaire philanthropy, often touted as a noble endeavor, is little more than PR designed to distract from their tax avoidance. The fact is, 90% of today's billionaires were born before Jim Crow laws were abolished, before immigration was open to non-whites, and before women were allowed financial credit. The idea that they earned it fair and square is one of the greatest shams of our time. This was a great read. If you made it this far with me, thanks so much. I hope your day doesn't suck. Okay, love y'all. Bye.